Welcome to this explainer. Imagine this. You're absolutely drowning in a crushing amount of debt. Despair is just closing in from every single direction. Now, what if someone walked up to you, handed you a simple diary, and said, "Hey, just write down 10 things you're grateful for"? You'd probably think it was a massive joke, right? Well, today we're diving into some truly fascinating source material that proves why this seemingly absurd piece of advice is actually an absolute masterclass in neurological rewiring. Our source material introduces a really powerful case study. It's about a man who was completely shattered by heavy debt in long-term unemployment. It was at this exact moment, literally when he needed cold, hard cash the absolute most, that he was given this deeply frustrating advice: just write down 10 positive things every single day. And this perfectly captures the natural skepticism we all feel. Telling a desperate person to just look on the bright side feels like rubbing salt into a very deep, painful wound. It's kind of like walking up to a man trapped at the bottom of a pitch-black well, and instead of throwing down a sturdy rope, you toss him a leather-bound journal and tell him to smile at the sky. Obviously, his initial reaction was that this was completely delusional. But to understand why this actually isn't delusional at all, we've got to pivot away from our emotional reactions and look at the neurological reality. You see, a survival mindset focuses exclusively on threats, which completely blocks any creative problem solving. On the flip side, a gratitude mindset focuses on the resources you already have, and that is what actually reveals hidden opportunities. The source points out a really crucial biological reason why we naturally default to survival mode when things go sideways. The key here is understanding the fight or flight mode. When you're facing an existential threat, like, say, running out of money, your brain shifts its entire energy into survival mode. It scans only for danger. It's biologically programmed to completely ignore anything positive, because let's be real, a beautiful sunset isn't going to save you from a predator, or in this case, bankruptcy. So it's completely natural for our brains to only see the massive problems when we are heavily stressed. But despite his heavy skepticism, the man in our case study had a rather grim realization. A pen and a piece of paper are essentially free. He figured he had absolutely nothing to lose. So, fighting against every single biological urge to panic, he forced himself to sit down every single day and write out exactly 10 positive things in his life. 10 things. And here is the shocking outcome detailed in the source. Within just a few months of starting this incredibly simple daily practice, his entire life began to shift. First, his wife secured a brilliant job. Shortly after that, he found excellent employment himself. Bit by bit, they actually paid off that crushing mountain of debt, leading to a stabilized, happy life. Now, on the surface, this sounds like pure magic, doesn't it? Like the diary was enchanted or something. But, as the source makes crystal clear, and this is a really important quote, gratitude doesn't magically change your bank account. It completely rewires your mindset. This bridges the gap between a blank journal and a cleared bank loan. It's not some mystical cure, and it definitely isn't toxic positivity. It is a fundamental structural shift in how the human brain processes reality. The source material actually uses a phenomenal metaphor to explain how this mindset shift operates in real time. It compares a mind in crisis to a person standing in a pitch-dark room holding a single torch. Heavy stress essentially forces you to point that beam of light directly at the darkest, scariest parts of your reality. Think about it. If you keep shining that torch on the trash, the cobwebs, and the dead-end walls of the room, you're going to genuinely believe there is no way out. The room feels terrifying, but gratitude physically forces you to redirect that beam. It shines the light onto a small exit door you literally couldn't see before. The crucial takeaway here: the trash and the cobwebs are still there. The problems haven't magically vanished, but your focus has shifted from the dead ends to the actual pathway out. Now, of course, this brings us to the biggest practical hurdle, and it's right where most people instantly give up. What on earth do you write when you feel like you have absolutely nothing? Do you have to wait around for a massive lottery win or a huge promotion just to find 10 things to be grateful for? I mean, if we relied on massive life events like that, none of us would ever be able to fill out a daily list. The answer actually lies in the incredibly mundane. The source insists we must look at the small, easily ignored blessings. A simple glass of clean drinking water, a roof over your head, basic daily meals, good health, the support of your family. These are monumental gifts that we entirely ignore in the hustle of daily life. You don't need a brand new car to be grateful. You really just need to appreciate the clean water in your glass. So why do we ignore these things? Well, it all comes down to taking things for granted. And listen, this isn't a character flaw. It is quite literally the human brain's natural default setting. our brains are biologically wired to devalue resources that are consistently available to us. We just get used to things incredibly quickly. Therefore, ignoring these basic blessings is a biological default setting that we have to actively and deliberately override if we really want to change our perspective. Interestingly, ancient cultures understood this biological flaw perfectly. The source shares a brilliant cultural example from India, the festival of Dussehra. During this festival, people actively worship their tools, their books, their machinery, and their vehicles. A carpenter worships his saw, a musician worships their instrument. It's not mere superstition. It's a built-in annual cultural override to pause and consciously appreciate the very things that sustain their livelihoods. The speaker in our source material actually shares a very profound personal realization about this. They noted that simply by reducing the amount of complaining they did and actively expressing thanks for what they had, their mental peace and quality of life absolutely skyrocketed. It turns out complaints actively drain your mental energy. Gratitude directly replenishes it. It really is that straightforward of an energy exchange. So, how do we actually apply all of this? Well, the source lays out a highly practical application, a 15-day challenge. You commit to writing down 10 things daily, no matter how insignificant they might seem. Maybe you just got a seat on the bus, or hey, the weather was surprisingly nice today. The goal of these 15 days is simply to act as a deliberate training exercise to violently break that deeply ingrained passive habit of complaining. But here is where the real genius of the exercise comes into play: building the brain's daily radar. If you know you absolutely must sit down at night and write 10 positive things in a diary, what do you think happens during the day? Your brain is forced to act like a radar. It spends the entire day actively scanning your environment for positive moments, just so it has material to write down later. You are deliberately hacking your own perception. Let's look at the hard science behind this radar. It's called the Reticular Activating System, or RAS. Your brain processes millions of bits of information every single second, but it only lets you consciously see what it thinks is important. So by telling your brain it needs 10 positive things for its homework, you are tuning your RAS to filter out the noise and highlight the opportunities. You are actively utilizing confirmation bias completely to your advantage. Furthermore, the source emphasizes that this isn't just about financial success. It describes this practice as a sanjivani, a lifeline for mental health. For those trapped in the dark vortex of deep trauma, severe anxiety, or depression, this practice acts as a crucial anchor. It pulls individuals out of their overwhelming darkness by forcing a connection to safe, manageable, and present moments. Interestingly, the source also suggests that coupling this daily gratitude with prayer creates an even more formidable anchor. Now, whatever your beliefs might be, combining gratitude with a sense of prayer provides a really powerful reminder to the individual that they are absolutely not alone in their struggle. It reinforces the idea that there is still profound goodness and support available in the world. Let's look at a remarkably common everyday example of this mental switch in action. Imagine you're stuck in a horrendous traffic jam. The default setting? Sit there, curse your luck, and drain your energy. The gratitude override is actively choosing to be thankful that you actually own a car to travel in rather than, say, standing out in the pouring rain waiting for a bus. It's the exact same traffic jam, but it's an entirely different psychological experience. Ultimately, the core message of this entire explainer is that gratitude is a universally available, completely free lens. It isn't sold in a shop. The moment you put it on, it dissolves the paralyzing blur of fear and anxiety, and it brings the actual path forward into incredibly sharp focus. It doesn't change the world. It changes the person experiencing the world. Which brings us to our final, lingering thought for today. If a man facing total financial ruin could completely turn his life around just by forcing himself to write 10 positive sentences a day, what unseen opportunities are currently surrounding you right now, just waiting for your perspective to change? Perhaps the rope out of your own well is already hanging right next to you. You just need to shine your torch on it.